to a large extent, our success is predicated on our passion and our authenticity. When we present to a buyer, they feel it.
Hi babes, Lady Silverstone here, and welcome to my podcast, where we're trying to demystify cannabis, one conversation at a time. In this episode, we're talking about the business side of cannabis, human rights for users, and the importance of transparency with our guests today. They are the founders of a premium brand in New York called Her Highness, classy advocates of the female experience of cannabis, and they're definitely bringing sexy back to the community. Let's welcome Allison and Laura. I hope you enjoy it. Hey, how are you?
Hello. So nice to meet you.
So nice to meet you, girls.
You know, pandemic, okay.
Pandemic, okay, exactly. That's a new kind of okay that we have to just get used to.
Exactly. It's day 70 indoors for us.
Day 70. So when was the date then that you started your lockdown?
I started March 13th was the day my town locked down.
Okay. Do you live in the same city?
No. I live in Connecticut, and Laura lives in East Hampton, New York.
All right. Okay. Is it really far from each other or not? I don't really know too much about the geography in the US, unfortunately.
Well, I guess I'm further from New York City, but we meet before pandemic, we would meet in the city. So it's about 2 hours for me to get into New York City, and Allison, I think it takes her probably 45 minutes, but that was our meeting point. And Allison used to live out here in the Hamptons, so we were in the same place, but she moved away.
Yeah.
But it's fine with a virtual business, and we both travel to California. We go back and forth to California, so we would travel together and do all our business in California together, which was really nice.
So because you started it in New York, is that it?
Well, we're both from New York. We're both New Yorkers. I've only lived in Connecticut for a short time. Laura still lives in New York. We're very much a New York brand. And when we started devising our brand and designing the look and feel of it, it was just so New York that we decided to just put the name into it and get behind it.
So how did you two meet? Do you know each other from a long time already?
We know each other through our previous businesses. So we're both entrepreneurs. We started businesses long ago. I started mine in 1998, and I was in the internet. I was a very early internet pioneer in e-commerce fashion, and set up a website property and then later retail store. And Allison and I met through business, and Allison had her own product that was in home decor, and we kind of came together, appreciated each other's success and businesses. And after we both were done with our previous businesses, we kept in touch, and we just were talking and knew we wanted to do something together. And what really brought us together was this idea of cannabis and how we could make a huge impact in changing it and bringing it to the audience that we had worked with prior in our businesses. So we were really aligned in that mission, and that brought us together.
We both have a shared passion for female products, luxury products, cannabis, and creating products and positioning them to help women and to further women's issues. And cannabis, especially right now, and when we started a couple years ago, is an area where women really can grow. Women are curious about cannabis. Cannabis is fabulous for women, and a lot of women don't know. So this was really perfect for us.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so before we continue there, because I have so many questions about both your brand and about females in the industry generally, because it's such a powerful movement and we are so powerful in it. It's so inspiring to see. So if you just could make just like a little introduction, like more about your personal lives, like each of you, like who is Laura and who is Allison?
You want to go first?
Sure, I'll start. So I'm Allison Krongard. Really, I guess what defines me is my lifelong love of design. it's been in every aspect of my life and all my work. And I grew up in a family that was very design centric. And so my love of design and cannabis and who I am as a person, I'm a mom, I'm a single mom. And my life is about creating a world for my kids and raising my kids in the most loving way, and sharing my tips and secrets for how I do that with other women, and trying to use my voice and my ability to get the word out about different things throughout my career, and creating a following and creating loyalty among women buyers is really my art. And that's what I'm here to do.
Lovely.
So, I come from a design background in the sense of graphic design. I come from a art director background, a creative director background. I was lucky enough to be in the publishing industry and offered an art director job at a very young age. From there, I was also given an opportunity to be the creative director of iVillage, which was the very first female online community before we even knew what the word community online was.
That must have been super interesting to be in that first, to see where it can go and how it will grow.
It was incredible. I was ready to learn about the internet. It was a man's world at the time. And mostly what existed were these kind of business, they were hardly websites. They were called intranet. So it was a way to kind of conduct business over the internet. And people weren't yet thinking, aside from Amazon, which of course was so early with just books and CDs, that was certainly happening back then. But nobody thought of it as this place where people would come together or, shop even for something that was more personal. So iVillage really saw that vision, and they worked with AOL very, in the very beginnings. AOL was one of their investors. And being there just gave me this really quick lesson. It was very accelerated. I learned everything that I wanted to know. It was, just my mind was open to just receive all the information. And at the end of that, I realized, coming from fashion editorial, that this medium was actually perfect for women to shop for clothing. So I went on to found my company, which was Girl Shop, in 1998. And it was a brand new concept. I tried to get VC money, and they all said, no one's going to ever buy clothing over the internet. And I could not get a dime. So I just went ahead with my $5,000 and cold pitched some New York designers, including Cynthia Rowley, Betsy Johnson. I got like a group of designers together that really believed in the concept. And I just launched it myself just to see what would happen. And I actually launched a New York Times style article. They got wind of it. They were interested. I wasn't quite ready, but I went for it. I launched it, and women just were, emailing, "Oh my God, this is amazing." Women were ordering. It just sort of took off, and it just made me realize that, first of all, anyone can do that. I did it with $5,000. Just people kept saying, "Oh, I thought about that too." But it's like, you really just have to act on things sometimes. And, I guess me as a person, which I'm just getting away from who I am, but I'm just open to opportunities. I wanted to learn about the internet. I was like the first one for graphic design to get on the computer when nobody, all the art directors were like, "What's this computer? I'm not learning this." So I just feel like I like to take those risks. I love to learn about things. And then my true talent is to see a white space in a market and to just kind of put two things together. Like, this is here, but it's not being utilized, and specifically for women in my case, but it can be kind of reinvented to be marketed to women. And that's my strength, to realize that and to bring it to fruition. Personally, I'm also a single mom. I'm divorced for 2 years now. And my first business, I partnered with my ex-husband, and we did that for 9 years. And after that, I really wanted to do something else. And when I would bring up ideas to him, he thought every idea I had was a loser idea and did not support me in any way. And so that was a big reason why I went forward and, got a divorce, because you only have one life. I felt like I really wanted to, had already started speaking to Allison. We were so passionate about this, and it was what I definitely wanted to do.
But that is really too bad. So like he thought that Her Highness was not a good idea, basically. He couldn't see the power of it, or
he didn't believe in me anymore. That was the problem.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you're stronger without him then, obviously, because you don't need someone that cannot, because in any case, every risk you take, you know that it's a risk. Otherwise you would already have done it without feeling that there might be a challenge and so on. Risks are there and they are risky. That's the whole concept of it. And what you can gain on the other side is either a really successful business and look at you now. I mean, you're having this fantastic company and you're selling your products a bit everywhere. Or you could have failed, let's say, call it fail, and you could have learned something so big, both of you, and maybe then created something similar, but with a different focus or whatever it might be. You would have learned so much.
I think that's the key, is that if you're not afraid of failure, you can try everything.
So what would you say? Because obviously there's a lot of people out there that has these dreams and that wants to start something for themselves. And I think especially now after this whole Corona time, when we've been sitting inside, we've been maybe having either some people have been laid off, or people are working from home, or people are just at home not working because they might work in a restaurant or at a place where they have to be physically there. And they now had so much time to maybe really rethink their hobbies, their lives, what they actually might want to do post-corona, let's say. Because there's a pre- and post-corona, to be honest. I mean, the world will never be exactly the same as before. So what would both of you say to these women and men that really wants to do something but that are scared of these risks?
I would say that from an entrepreneurship standpoint, and especially in a time of crisis, it's authenticity and charity that define the companies who survive and do well. In terms of optics and in terms of business, people start to buy with their heart in times of crisis. That's a business fact. So, people in this moment trying to devise a business idea, I think is very meaningful because, for us, to a large extent, our success is predicated on our passion and our authenticity. When we present to a buyer, they feel it. They get it, that when we say we put the time into these formulas because of these reasons, and this is what we needed out of it, and this is what we got, and this is what we're presenting, people really feel our passion and our dedication to our product. So it could be vacuum cleaners or it could be cannabis, whatever your passion is. I think my advice to anyone in this time who's home meditating on what they really want to do, it's the perfect time because they are being authentic and they have taken the time. So I've written a bunch of articles on this over the years, and I always say that when you're coming up with a product, you have to believe in yourself, but research. If you can truly convince yourself that your idea is valid by researching it, then you go before you spend a dime. You do your work. And it's in that research process that I've sort of filtered out some of my great ideas that didn't quite make it to the end in that process, which is very valuable to me as an entrepreneur. And this is a great time for that process.
So I feel that a lot of people are taking the opportunity now to rethink. There are so many thought-provoking articles right now, um, where it's like when things get to somewhat of a normal, what are you going to choose to go forward with, and what have you learned, and what are you going to change? And I think that a lot of people are not going to go back to their 9 to 5 jobs, honestly. I think now is a time to, if there was a project that you were considering, now is the time to try it. And of course, it depends what that project was. Obviously, some things are not going to work in this environment, but if it's something that can be reached, especially through the internet, it's a perfect time. And, I think research is super valuable, but in my previous experience, when I'm creating something that doesn't quite exist yet, they say like a good idea, um, there are a lot of people that will think it's a bad idea because it doesn't exist and it's something new. And now, if you're not working, it's like my daughter who's in high school, and when she realized she's not going back to school in 2 weeks or a month, she said to me, I don't want to waste my time. And I think that that's true. Like, use this time. And if it's in a business way, even better, and try it out. You have nothing to lose at this point. Why not try it out now? It's sort of the perfect time.
Sorry for interrupting. I hope you enjoy listening so far. Please check out my account Lady Silverstone at patreon.com so I can continue creating cannabis content for you. How and when did you create Your Highness?
Her Highness.
Her Highness, sorry, Your Highness. That is, I'm thinking like Game of Thrones now, maybe.
It happens all the time.
It does, but her is the keyword.
I know, it's so well as well. Okay, so Her Highness. It sounds so powerful as well. That's the thing. It's such a great name.
It is. It's Her Highness. I mean, I hate to use the word empowerment, but it really is. It's such an overused word, but women, just the name alone, women really just are drawn to it because it says so much. It's, we're elevating women. It's the way that women should feel about themselves every single day. Like Allison said before, we really bonded over our love for cannabis, and we use cannabis in different ways, and we kind of span the spectrum of women where, I'm more of a occasional user in the fact that I will use it more at night and on the weekends. And certainly I've been using it a little bit more during this time because I'm more stressed and it really does help me. And especially the CBD has been super helpful now. But I think at the same time, we both realized that women were completely underserved in this emerging market, and nobody was really solely focusing on a woman. And I just remember we had been in talks, but there was one day where I was like, I want to get some cute paraphernalia for my home, something chic that I can put out and, leave out on my coffee table. And I looked and there was sparkly pink Hello Kitty, tie-dye. Like, I couldn't find anything that would fit into my lifestyle. And that's when I was like, Allison, we should definitely do this. Like, it doesn't exist. We come together with the same mission, but we have different skills. Allison is the most amazing product person as far as development. We really were so aligned. And so, it was me who kind of came to her at a certain point and was like, let's do this. And that was, at least 4 years ago.
I had sold my business and was working for the larger company that bought me and really wanted to get into cannabis. And I started doing my research, which is my process. And I attended this cannabis university program which was like a joke, but
Oh, okay.
yeah, it sounded really good. No, it was a total. I mean, really, it was early days, and what I got out of this basically 4-day conference was that it was too early to get into growing or transporting or really selling the plant on the East Coast at the time.
Such an odd thing to that is like the conclusion of the whole. It's so weird. Like, I thought this was about like putting us out there and really, no.
For me, what I got from it after listening to all the speakers and here, they were armed, they had been in and out of prison. It was just too early for me to get involved at that time. But I still, was trying to figure out how to get in. So when Laura called and had this idea for fine accessories, it was perfect for me. And then once we came together, we started forming relationships in California where we could really get into the plant. So we sort of combined this beautiful accessory, beautiful presentation idea with the plant, and we can actually sell cannabis. And so we've built that cannabis business in California.
So you started in California because it's at that time it was not really legal back in New York. Is that in?
Correct. It's still not legal recreationally
in
New York. We're still waiting.
Ah, okay. I thought it was. Yeah, that's the thing. It's so confusing, right? Because it's not legal on a federal level.
Right. So we have to be very careful. So we wanted to launch in California because California is the heart of the cannabis world in the US.
Yeah.
And it's where it's growing. We wanted to pay our respects to that community and be a part of that community. It's also very similar to New York in terms of consumption, although New York is actually a bigger California, which is amazing. But so yes, our plan was to launch in California and then move to every state. We're going to open in Nevada soon. And as legalization happens in every state, keep moving across the country. And then while we sell our CBD line nationally and our accessories nationally now.
That's really, really wonderful. Okay, so you are present in all 11 states already then?
Not yet. We launched in California. We are just in about 50 dispensaries, and we're on the cusp of getting into the really big dispensaries. We have some soft yeses from the next level. We're just right there.
Congratulations. That's great.
Thank you. We're really excited.
Yes.
And then from there, we're going to start focusing on Nevada, and then we'll look, hopefully, Michigan, Massachusetts. Okay. And if New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut go legal in 2020, I mean, that's really, really perfect for us, and we're here.
Okay, yeah, super exciting.
Slogan. Well, most are medical. So there's only, I think, 1 or 2 that have no legal cannabis at all, which is just crazy. Most are medical. So it's happening. It's on.
Yeah.
But full recreation is slow going. But I think, one possible outcome of this pandemic where cannabis was deemed essential, it might help. And everyone is, all states are completely cash poor as a result of this event. Taxes will be way down. Everything is way down. Cannabis is a great way for states to build up their revenue again. So I think it might look very appealing.
Because I heard, I think it was yesterday, isn't it like 39 million people now that are unemployed or lost their jobs?
It's a staggering figure. It's like the Great Depression.
Yeah. Being 2 women in business, like what do you guys feel is the worst, not the worst, like what is the hardest, let's say, challenge? That is something that might still be very, it might have nothing to do with gender, but something in the cannabis industry that is still really hard to penetrate. What are the biggest challenges?
I mean, there are so many challenges.
I mean,
where do we start?
Yeah. Do you want to start or shall I start?
The industry is full of challenges. I mean, just in general, I think it's difficult for women. It's more difficult for women to raise money. And, I think we've had a hard time doing that. We've been lucky at the same time, but we're always fundraising, and we're so lean and mean. We're 2 women. That's it. that we, it doesn't tend to be our main focus. And I've done lots of research on this. I was involved in another business where we help women launch and grow their businesses. And that is a huge issue for all women. It's just they're not as aggressive as men. There's, still this man's club of investors. So I'd say, that's a huge challenge aside from the more specific challenges to cannabis, which there are many. I'll let Allison step in for some of those, but we've weathered so much. We've found our way somehow, but we've been hit with so many challenges, and because we're women, I feel we've been able to pivot out of things and come up with new solutions. And, I think women are excellent at that. But yeah, Allison, if you want to talk about the specifics of the industry.
Yeah. I mean, I would say for me, my biggest challenge is probably less about being a woman and more about being a type A New Yorker. That when I go to California, I like to book my schedule back to back. I get anxious if there's time being wasted where I could be meeting someone. And I find, especially in cannabis, which I did not experience in normal industry where I came from, you make an appointment with someone and it's maybe not, it's like I've had to learn to 15 minutes before check, are you there? Are we still on? It adds an extra layer of work to make sure people are as dedicated about their business as the kind of energy we bring to it with our East Coast mentality.
Is that because, sorry to interrupt, do you think that's because the industry is so new and maybe there's a lot of people going in it just because it's a booming industry and that's why they maybe don't have the real heart for it? Or do you think, what do you think is the reason for that?
I think people are high. I think people are, it's an old school industry. Like the people with the real information and the real contacts, the people I really like to meet with are the OG, long-term people.
The veterans here in the business. Yeah.
And, it's sort of, when I meet with the Wall Street people who have come in, no problem. Everybody has the same attitude. But no, growers or manufacturers or buyers, a lot of buyers who own or who are the dispensary owner, who went from the legacy market, transitioned to the legal market, still have legacy attitude and mentality, which is the other thing that I would say is very difficult because there's a sense of paranoia, a sense of lack of trust and energy that is from the legacy market that until, and I feel it and I've gotten it from people where they're like, oh, new people, no.
Oh, okay.
And until they get my authenticity, which, I've kind of got that down now to convey what speaks to people. I joined the cannabis party at 18. I'm almost 50. I'm more OG than half the people I'm talking to. And once they get that I actually love the plant like they do and I understand it, we can get past that. But there's definitely some energy that's a little standoffish.
Yeah.
That I would say, I don't know if it's because I'm a woman or it's just an aspect of the cannabis industry now, or as a newcomer coming in.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a really good point. We, as people enter the industry from other industries, it's really bettering the business part of it. Cannabis needs all of that, needs that experience, the energy, everything that, and so I think things are progressing and changing in a good way.
Yeah.
But there are some OGs that are really open to it and they see the opportunity, and then others that, are sort of stuck in that old school mentality. So it's very interesting.
It must be very interesting to see, like you say, that these people, sometimes you're working with people from Wall Street, and then all of a sudden you have a meeting with this grower that has been doing it for 30 years. And then you're going to mix these two people into your part and you need to be in the middle of these two people, I mean, it must be very, I mean, both interesting because it's a whole new world, especially from you two who already have your pace. Like you already been in this, like the industry of beauty and products for a long time. And for them, they have been growing and living the life of a grower, of a farmer for years, and it's a complete different pace, which I totally understand. I mean, that person cannot have a scheduled day like we do and we need. So yeah, it must be very interesting to see those like two very different parts of the industry.
But those two parts, when merged together, can really create what we're looking for in the future of the industry. So for us to have a true passion and love for the plant, and also a passion and love for business together, makes us a little bit different. You know, a lot of the executives in the industry are expert growers or seed hunters or whatever they do what they do, and now they're looking for a market for it. We sort of already identified our customer before we started creating product. So we came at it in a very traditional business way, which has given us a major boost and helped us get a full product line for very little money out on shelves and to market, you know, using our other skills in the cannabis industry.
Well done, girls. I wanted then, because now I heard Laura mention her initial relationship to cannabis, and I just wanted to ask you as well, Allison, like what was your relationship to cannabis before you created Her Highness?
I have always had a great love of cannabis since college. So I used it in very different ways at different times in my life. I used to use it very, very lightly for many years, just on the weekends. It always just sort of increased the joy in my life. Whatever I was doing that was good, it made it better. I used it more heavily in my 20s and then had little kids in my 30s, so used it much less. And it wasn't until I sold my company and worked for the company who acquired me that I felt depressed and miserable, having gone from a very creative, forward-thinking, and fast-paced environment that I was running to being a part of a very slow-paced, old-fashioned corporate environment. It was very depressing, and the women who worked there were very depressed and heavily reliant on alcohol and pills, and very comfortable talking about it, which was so interesting. Like I could never say, "Oh, I'm going to smoke a joint," but they could say, "Oh, I drank a whole bottle of wine myself."
And then people giggle about it, like, "Oh my God, did you?"
Right, "Oh, how funny, your liver's trashed." And it was in that experience and the experience for me transitioning from a very positive environment to a very dark environment that I started using cannabis for this new anxiety that I felt for the first time in my life, depression. I had never, even bad things that happened in my life never got me down. I'd never felt down before. And I was down. Like I needed to smoking so that I could leave my house to get on the train and go to that place, made it possible to go there. And in that time, I realized I sort of started, I had a different relationship with cannabis. It became my medicine for the first time. And during my divorce, I couldn't use cannabis because it's illegal here. So my doctor gave me a prescription, really popular anti-anxiety pills, and for the first time in my life I felt like a junkie. Like it affected my body so strongly. I've grew up on organic food. I never take medicine, so my plant medicine had always been my medicine, but it wasn't until I got scared by the system that I started taking in real drugs that like I would have to sleep. I'd have to plan time to sleep if I needed to take an anti-anxiety pill, whereas before I could take 2 hits off a joint, chill out, and move on. So that experience and the experience of, because this sort of happened around the same time of working at this corporation, cannabis sort of filled in all these other aspects of my life, and my passion and love for it even grew more, and my passion and need to use my voice to get the message out to other women who are suffering and treating their suffering with cannabis, with alcohol and pills, that there's a better way. And so once I had a clean slate, my company was sold. I had done my time with the company who acquired me. My divorce was done. That's really where I wanted to put my energy and my love.
Yeah, very both emotional and I mean it's because it's a very unfair journey that you had to make. Do you see what I mean? Like you had to go through something that you didn't even want to put in your body in order to just be able to have your kids, right? Because that can be a very hard thing, right, in a divorce.
Oh my God, terrible. That would have ruined my life.
Is it common that the parties use that against each other in a divorce, for example, that this person is using?
Yes, absolutely. It happens all the time.
Wow, that's so nasty. But I'm very happy that it didn't happen to you. But also, I mean, you were smart. You knew from the beginning that could happen. So doing anything to avoid that at least. Okay, so question for both of you, being mothers. How is it in the States? Do you feel that you can openly talk about it? Or how is it with other children's parents, for example? Like, do they come with comments or, yeah?
Well, I think it's interesting. I have a teenage daughter, and that makes it even more interesting because as the teenagers want to experiment with marijuana, that brings up a whole other issue. So, I'd say over the past few years that we've been working on this, I've seen such a difference in attitude from the parents as far as using it in a responsible way for themselves and the acceptance of it and the curiosity about education. I talked to all my mom friends who, I think the thing with women who don't know the plant so well, when they think about pot, they think about when the last time they either smoked it or had an edible, which was probably a bad edible experience where I've had them too. You're unsure of your own dosage and the dosage of the edible. You've taken it, it hits you, you're in too far. We women, I think particularly, don't like to have that loss of self-control. It's happened to me. And I think women, when they think about cannabis, they think about their last experience, and it could kind of deter them from trying it again. And so I spend a lot of my time working with my mom friends who are definitely curious. And I start them off with one of our mints, which is a low dose mint that is 2.5 milligrams. And that alone completely changes their mind. If they can try this, because it doesn't really get you high per se, but it allows you to be yourself, but better. And when they try that, they're in because it's a good feeling. It's not a feeling of loss of control or anything. And all it does is bring happiness to them. So, I've seen a real change of attitude. I still think there are stigmas. And of course, people, you can't talk about getting high the way that you talk about having a drink. It's baffling that that's still going on. But for me, being a mom, that's the real difficulty is how do you talk about cannabis in a smart way? And, you have a child who's right on the cusp of experimenting. And how do you make that distinction? And how do you make it a responsible choice for them? I just find that super challenging, and I don't have the answer yet. But that's a real thing that I'm dealing with. And the other thing I'll say about me personally and my family is I also have an 11-year-old daughter who, first of all, they are both so supportive of my business. And that's, going back to my divorce and my husband being not supportive. They see me building this business from nothing and are so impressed and are with me every step of the way. And it's so refreshing. And I'm as honest as possible about the product. But my 11-year-old, when she saw the vapes and there was the vape crisis, and she said, Mom, I don't think anyone should have smoke in their lungs. It's like they bring up these really profound, innocent, statements. And, as a mom, it's really challenging to explain things and explain the world. And it leads into drugs and why this is different. And it's, I'm up for the challenge, but it's there. It's, with the kids.
I would say about the stigma and other parents, I'm always nervous when people ask me what I do, especially at school, when teachers ask me what I do at our first meeting, or my daughter just switched schools at their school interview and they ask me what I do. But I feel like in order to break the stigma, normal, suburban, normal looking moms need to come out and say it. And so I do. And what I learned last year, I felt a lot of anxiety about saying it. But what I learned in just saying it was that everybody is, oh, well, my brother just invested in this, or, I have a plant at home, or,
Wow.
it really, I was so afraid to tell other parents because my first thought was nobody's going to let me drive their kid. And then I can't ask them to drive my kid. And that doesn't work with my busy mom schedule. So that was my thought. But once I just pushed myself to, and, on social media, we are very much trying to come out and be authentic. We are weed moms. This is the face of the weed mom. I'm on time. I'm at every pickup on time. I am always organized. My children are always, my daughter's a straight A student. My son, not so much, but it's not because I'm a weed mom.
No, exactly.
But to come out as, and people always say, like, oh, I had no idea that you smoke. I would never think that you smoke. And I love that because that's the stigma breaking right
Exactly.
there. So by coming out and having the courage to say, yes, this is my industry and I'm a weed mom and I'm doing it because of how I feel about this plant.
Yeah.
I've gotten a great response from other parents.
That's amazing. I'm very
It's
happy.
hard.
I definitely agree with that. I actually love saying that I have a cannabis business because I'm so curious of people's reaction. And, when it's true, when we say it and people know who we are and we're good moms, it really does change the stigma.
Yeah.
And it will when more moms are confident saying that as well.
Have you ever had another parent give you something like, okay, I don't want your kids to come to our place, or I don't want to let my kid be with your kid, or anything like that?
I haven't.
Never. I mean, yeah, never.
No, I mean, I think it's advanced. Actually, that could have happened years ago. But I think I was more quiet about it years ago. But I'm so out and proud right now, and cannabis is a viable business, and people are interested in it.
Yeah.
I've not gotten that reaction, and I don't think that. It's not like people are seeing us stoned on the street. It's more that we present ourselves as responsible moms. So, no one has that feeling about us personally. And the fact that we're in the business is, I think, curious.
Yeah.
I've only heard people wanting to know more.
Or wanting to invest because people do recognize that, prohibition is ending in our lifetime. I mean, this is amazing and the possibilities are enormous. So it's sort of turned into like, are you a drug dealer? To, oh, you're a really smart businesswoman.
Although I have to say, like, I've heard not comments to myself, but parents don't necessarily want it to be legal when they're thinking about their teenage child. I've heard that a lot where they're not on board necessarily because they think it's irresponsible. But that comes back to parenting, really.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, what I tell my kids and what we had a big thing at school about drugs, and they actually put cannabis in with the discussion of heroin and cocaine. And I stood up and said, if I'm asked to leave, send my daughter outside. And I had to say that actually cannabis belongs with alcohol in this discussion. It doesn't belong with cocaine, heroin, crack, and pills and quaaludes and all the things that they were grouping it with. And it was really hard to say. And my message to the kids was, I choose not to use alcohol personally, but I don't think it's bad. I think in moderation it's fine. Plenty of people enjoy it. The same with cannabis. In moderation, it's fine. Plenty of people enjoy it. Both of these two will be available to you as an adult, but they're not great for a young mind. So I'm not saying they're bad. I'm saying they're bad for you in this moment. Just wait. They'll always be there. Cannabis has been around since ancient Mesopotamia. Alcohol's not going anywhere. It's all there for you. Just wait. That's what I say to kids, and that's what I've said at school. And it's hard, but other parents get that.
But it's really good that you do that, because for the first, I don't think a lot of parents feel that they can actually say it, because even though they might feel that way, they don't feel that they can maybe back it up like you can, who has done a lot of research, and you guys have the brand and all of these things. It gives you something to fall back on and say that, hey, I have gone through all of these things to make sure that I know the business, I know where it's going to be safer and safer, because regulating cannabis is just making it safer, thankfully.
Oh, it's cleaner than the lettuce in your salad. I mean, cannabis is squeaky clean. I wish, actually, that our other products came with a COA. I would like to know what's in my beauty products. I wish when I shopped for products, especially that I was going to consume or my children would consume, I could have the COA as well. And I wish the berries that we eat were as pesticide free. Even organic berries have pesticide. I wish our food was as clean as cannabis. So we really are backwards. We're too strict with cannabis and too lax with everything else.
So true. And it's actually, when you say it like that, we are taking it for granted somehow that our blueberries are good for us, and we have no idea how much vitamin C or whatever vitamins are in blueberries. We just assume that it's good, while when it comes to cannabis, we are and which is good, but we should do it with everything else. We should do it with our skincare products, with our food.
Our baby food. I mean, the food that we feed babies is disgusting. The jarred baby food, like if you've ever dug into those ingredients, that should come with a COA. But, it's the big cultural shift would be required.
Dear listeners, if you like what you hear, please check out my Patreon. The link is in the description here below. Only if you're able to, of course. Now, let's get back to our guest. I really love that I can find the COA under your products on your website. That is something that a lot of products or brands, don't provide that. I don't know if it's out of, maybe you have to ask. Many will give it to you if you ask for it, but putting it out there directly for the customer, because when they are discovering you want them to be able to see directly that you're transparent, that this is what you get for if you buy the CBD oil or this facial oil or your vape pen that you have, for example. You want them to know directly, so they don't get because you can easily get put off by a brand when you feel that there's no about page, there's no COA, you feel that it's fishy directly, and your brand and your website it's so clear. There is no question marks really. So how did you feel when you started it? Was that a part of was it important for you to put that in for a specific reason? Do you have to have it?
We don't have to have it. We are marketing to women. Women care about ingredients that go into their bodies. And we aim to be the trusted resource for women in cannabis. So it's everything to us. We're transparent. We want women to be so comfortable, aside from educating them about the product, which we do in a girlfriend to girlfriend tone, so that we're their friend in cannabis. So the quality is so important to us. We've gone to great lengths when we do our formulations, when we select our hardware. In fact, our vape pen, we coated before it was even a thing, because I still don't think anyone really does this. the entire interior is medical grade stainless steel. And we use a ceramic coil. Only the oil that you inhale at that moment is being heated, so it's not reheated over and over, which deteriorates the oil. So every single detail, every decision we've made thoughtfully to just make sure that women know that we've got their back, basically. And, we're not creating anything that we wouldn't put into our bodies ourselves. So it's everything to us. And I'm surprised. I feel like most of the reputable CBD companies do show their COAs, because the way that CBD is, for some people, they say it's a snake oil, and you can order it on Amazon, and you could order a product that says it has a certain amount of CBD, and when tested has 0, too little. I wouldn't order anything unless I knew exactly that it had been tested and it had exactly what it was saying that it had in there. It's so important. I think that's to create a reputable brand. I mean, I don't see any other way to do it. That's, you've got to back up what you say that you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't be your trusted girlfriend in cannabis unless we supplied products that we would use and we want to give our personal friends, what we want our daughters to use, what we want to use ourselves. So yeah, there's never, also coming from cannabis and being a legitimate cannabis company, because to Laura's point, a lot of these CBD sellers are just selling hemp seed oil, or there's too little CBD. It's nothing like what they say it is. But coming from cannabis and the regulatory environment that we are used to sort of lends its authenticity to our CBD line, that we're treating it with the exact same care that we treat our THC line.
Do you have both CBD and THC? Do you focus more on the CBD?
CBD we focus on for nationwide sale, and THC we focus just in California right now, but we're spreading into Nevada and looking at other states. So our master plan is to sell super high-end, lovely CBD products nationwide, introduce our brand to women nationwide, while bringing THC where we can. And so as legalization happens, when we bring THC to a new state and women walk into a dispensary and feel that unwelcome, unfamiliar, don't know the strains, have no idea what they're looking at, but if they see our brand in our box and, oh, that's my friend, they know where to go.
Every step you take is still untouched ground in a way, which is super exciting.
Where are you? Are you in Denmark?
Germany?
In Germany?
Actually in Spain. But good guess. Good guess.
But you have a German accent.
I'm from Sweden, actually. And then I lived in France for a few years. And then in Indonesia for a few years. And now I'm in Spain.
Wow. Okay. Where are you in Spain?
It's like a few hours south from Barcelona.
Okay. Very nice.
It's really nice. It's a beautiful city.
Is it along the water? Is it close to the shore? Or not really?
I'm living 3 minutes from the beach.
Oh, wow. Lovely.
Nice.
I love Spain. That's awesome. I've been, and I have some Spanish blood in me. So,
oh, you do?
Yeah. I've traveled, I've been to Barcelona and Madrid and Granada and along the coast, the southern coast. So I've traveled a bit, but I haven't been in a long time. Most of our travels have been cannabis and kind of back and forth to California. But actually, it's funny because we, with my family, my parents and my brother and his family, we booked a cruise, a Mediterranean cruise that we were supposed to go on in late June.
Oh, this year.
Been canceled.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But, it was originating in Rome, and we were supposed to stop in Barcelona as well and just kind of go along the Mediterranean coast. So I was due to visit Spain, and I'm going to miss it. But that's such a lovely place for you to be. How nice.
Aren't you just shocked still? I mean, even us outside the US, we're still shocked that how could he even get elected? When you really think about it, it's crazy.
he could be reelected. I mean, that's not off the table. Yeah. No, it's shocking.
Can't even. I mean, I was in the car last night with my daughter, and she was saying something about British politics, and I was like, yeah. And then I was like, you know what? Now we can't say anything about anybody ever again. I mean, what's happening in this country is so backwards. We've totally lost the right to criticize any country in the world ever.
Mm-hmm.
There's just, I mean, I can't read the news anymore. It's such an abomination. It's just horrifying. And we just can't fight every wrong all the time. Sort of, we have our mission. Our company has a mission. But maybe one day when we're super wealthy and done, I definitely have an eye towards politics, and helping to change what's happening in this country is so disgusting.
That is also amazing, because you can really do that right in the US. I mean, obviously we see that with Trump, that you can come from wherever you're from, you can come and obviously become a president, which is great. And that's what the US really has. That is one of your strengths, that you actually have this as a possibility, but it can also be very tragic, as we see now. It can be, yeah. But that's, yeah. I don't know who it says a lot about. I don't know, maybe it's because LA or California in general, you have all this big place in New York and so on. I mean, that's not the general American person.
You know, there are states in the US that are sort of, their politics is inherited. You know, people don't sort of revisit what's really happening. They sort of vote for whoever their granddaddy voted for, and so it sort of goes like that.
Yeah, it's really identical.
I really don't know. I mean, we're so New York centric, which is a Democratic state. More educated states in the United States are the Democratic states, and then the less educated states tend to lean Republican, and it's just a statistic that's real. Yeah. So that's what you get.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the scarier part is the people. Like, aside from Trump, he's sort of opened the door for all these people that support anything he does, but they also are bigots, and it's like he's made it okay to be these things that were never okay in America, and that's really what's scary to me. And now we see it. You know, we're New Yorkers, and really the states along the coast, both coasts are more sophisticated, but that's only a small part of the country. And to just really have that in the open, that these people, and see them doing these terrible acts, and I don't know, it's just beyond, it's not what I grew up to know America to be. And I think also, because I spent a lot of time in Europe and looking at America then compared to now, it's, we've just lost so much respect, because what we were known to be has changed, and he changed all that. So it's super upsetting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I hope that there's a feeling in Europe and the rest of the world that Trump doesn't represent the American people.
No, that I think is very clear. I think from here in Europe, the talk has been more, I mean, we realize how already it was very what do you say, when it was really even between them, right? Hillary and Trump, it was quite even.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we just knew that, like,
except she had more votes.
She had the popular vote. It's just not the way our system works. I was explaining to my daughter the other day, but she had the popular vote. But even the fact that it was so close is upsetting to me.
That's the thing.
And I remember that night, I couldn't even stay awake, but I woke up in the morning, looked at my phone, Trump was president.
Oh my God.
I just thought it was a joke.
I know.
I thought it was a joke.
Could not believe it.
People were in mourning.
Yeah.
It just was the most unbelievable thing.
Surreal.
Surreal.
Yeah. And if North Korea gets a female leader before the United States, we'll feel even more backwards.
Yes. Which might happen, right?
I know.
Oh, wow.
So sad.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Well,
this has been a pleasure. It was so nice to meet you.
Really nice to meet you girls.
This is lovely.
Thank you so much.
We come back anytime.
Yes, that would be really nice. That would be lovely. So have a really, really nice weekend and enjoy your Fridays.
It's the weekend.
Yes, I know.
You
Finally.
too.
Have a lovely day, babes.
Yes, you too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe to my social channels and rate this podcast. And if you would like to support me a little bit extra, it would really mean the world to me. So check out my Patreon profile that I linked in the episode description. It's all thanks to your support that I can continue talking, writing, recording, and making more cannabis content for you and our amazing community. Have an awesome day and lots of love.